Millions of people who have heard of Joe Dispenza are trying to become supernatural, like he lays out in the book. But unfortunately, that's exactly what's keeping them stuck. Because the moment that you believe that you have to become something different or more than you naturally are, you've accepted a damaging belief. You've already accepted the belief and the idea that who you are right now isn't enough. And that single belief sends people searching in completely the wrong direction. So by the end of the video, you're going to understand why that idea, the idea of becoming supernatural, is not the answer to conscious creation or improving your life. It's actually the hidden idea, the hidden belief that keeps people from understanding how consciousness and the law of attraction works. So let me explain. Let's call a friend of mine, Sarah. She read Becoming Supernatural and she committed herself. She was committed to the spiritual search and the book completely. She meditated every morning, right on time. She practiced heart-brain coherence. She visualized her future day in and day out, and she generated elevated emotions as much as she could. Fundamentally, she followed the method exactly as it was taught. But days became weeks, weeks become months, and unfortunately her life barely changed. Now, the hardest part wasn't that nothing happened for her. It was the conclusion that she reached about herself that was more damaging. I can't be doing it properly, or I haven't reached the right state, or I'm obviously not supernatural yet. And that's the moment that everything changes. Because Sarah didn't feel like a failure because the meditation failed. She felt like a failure because she couldn't become supernatural. But what if the problem wasn't Sarah at all, which it isn't? What if the problem is the idea itself, that she needed to become supernatural in the first place? Because that isn't just the title of the book. I can understand why it was written that way. But unfortunately, it's the hidden assumption that the entire framework begins with. And once you accept the assumption that you are not enough, everything follows. You stop asking the obvious ones. What beliefs are creating my experience? And you start asking, how do I reach higher states of consciousness? And those are completely different questions. They're totally different journeys. The question about what beliefs do I have, that leads to understanding, and the other just keeps you searching forever. So let's forget the idea of meditation for a moment, or brain waves, or coherence. Let's forget quantum physics. Let's just ask a simple question that gets right to the heart of this. Why would anybody believe that they need to become supernatural in the first place? Well, the answer is hidden in the word itself, of course. It assumes that your natural identity, as you are right now, isn't already enough, that you are not enough, that you're lacking in some way, shape or form. It assumes there are extra higher states of consciousness that you must attain before you gain greater creative ability than the consciousness that you already have. And once that assumption is accepted, then the need for new method becomes inevitable, because one leads into the other. You will need elevated emotions. You will need greater coherence. You will need techniques that have mystical experiences. You'll need longer and longer and more complex meditations. You need to reach higher states before you can consciously create extraordinary supernatural outcomes. Joe Dispenza's framework begins with that idea. That's his belief. But I want to offer you something different, because reality is already a state of consciousness. And my experience tells me, of 35 years, that your natural identity, just as you are right now watching this video, isn't waiting to become more powerful. It's already creating the experience that you have right now. There's nothing missing in you. There's nothing waiting to be activated, nothing more to become. The only question you need to consider is what beliefs are already organizing the reality that you have every single day. You must also have a willingness to accept the powers that you have naturally right now. And that's a completely different model of reality. And it leads to a completely different way of life and a way of actually creating the life that you want. So here's something I want you to understand about these processes and spiritual teachers. Every spiritual teacher teaches through their own model and beliefs of reality. They create their own reality. Their experiences may be genuine, of course, but the explanation they give for those experiences comes from their own beliefs that they have already. It's true for Joe Dispenza. His beliefs form his methods. Neville Goddard's form his methods. Seth, thankfully, just says your beliefs create your own reality. That's as rock bed as you can get. So no teacher giving you all these methods is handing you a model of reality. Joe Dispenza's experiences may be exactly as he describes them. I'm sure they are. But the question isn't whether those experiences happened. The question is, what ideas is he using to explain them? And does he understand that he created them? His explanation begins with higher states of consciousness to unlock greater creative abilities that you must have. Now, from that assumption, then the idea of becoming supernatural is formed. Neville Goddard, well, he began with different beliefs and therefore different experiences. He then created different ideas, different methods and strategies and techniques. Different methods then produce different questions. And once you realize that, you can stop asking, okay, which teacher is right? You can understand that they also create their own reality through their beliefs. That's rock bed reality. You can start asking, what ideas and beliefs is this teaching built on? And that one question, I think, changes how we can all view spiritual teachings. Now, let me also ask you something about supernatural. If you spent years trying to become a higher version of yourself, how will you ever know if you've arrived? Just think about that. I mean, seriously, what's the moment? How do you measure within yourself becoming supernatural? Because if the answer is, well, when my life finally changes, then your circumstances become the proof that you haven't reached that state. Can you see the trap that it brings us to? The framework measures your progress by the very thing you're trying to change, which means that every single setback becomes evidence that you're still not there. You're still not supernatural enough. And that's why so many sincere people never stop searching. Now, my friend Sarah, her problem wasn't that she couldn't reach a supernatural state, whatever that is. Her problem was believing one existed at all. Because the moment that you believe your ability to consciously create your own reality depends on reaching a future state, your natural consciousness and identity immediately becomes second best. Every meditation, well, that's got a hidden purpose, to become someone else. Every visualization that you do has a hidden purpose to reach some kind of higher level. And every time life doesn't change, the idea that you've got is never questioned. The conclusion's always the same. I haven't reached that state yet. And so you meditate longer, you meditate harder, you read more books, you try to become, in this case, more supernatural than ever. You generate stronger emotions. The destination, unfortunately, when you think about it, simply keeps moving. The framework always explains why it hasn't worked for you. You simply haven't become supernatural enough. And that's why this is a self-defeating program. Not because meditation in itself is wrong, or not because different states of consciousness and experiences don't exist, but because the search itself is built upon the belief that you naturally are not enough. And that belief just creates a loop you just go round and round in. So before we ask how to become supernatural, then we need to ask a better question. What if there was never a higher state that you needed to reach in the first place? Now imagine that you have a dream tonight. You probably had one last night. Inside the dream, there are people, there are relationships, you might have spent some money, there's time and space and buildings, there's conversations, there's a version of yourself which you may or may not be familiar with. So now let's ask a question. Does your dream creation, your dream consciousness, have to become more powerful before it can change the dream? No, of course it doesn't. All it needs to do is change its thought. The dream is made from thought. The dream isn't separate from your consciousness, your identity. The dream exists because of consciousness. So there isn't a gap to bridge. There's nothing to reach. There's no field out there you need to influence. Your consciousness is already producing every part of that experience. And I'm going to suggest to you that physical reality works in a very similar way. You're not standing outside reality trying to influence it. You're already within a reality organized by your thought and consciousness. So your natural consciousness is not waiting to become more creative. It's already there. Every belief, every expectation, every idea that you have, every emotion, they're already organizing the reality you experience right now. And once you see that, then everything changes. You stop asking yourself questions like, how do I become supernatural? And you start asking the logical questions. Okay, what beliefs are shaping the reality that I'm experiencing? So for the next 24 hours, stop trying to become a better creator. Take the pressure off yourself. Relax, chill out. Instead, just become a little bit more curious. When you feel anxious, don't ask yourself, okay, what do I need to do? Ask yourself, what belief would naturally produce the feeling, the emotion of being anxious? Just ask yourself that question. If you experience lack in your life, don't immediately jump into a visualization of abundance. Just ask yourself, okay, what belief would make this experience seem logical? Do I believe I'm lacking in some way? When you catch yourself trying harder to be more spiritual or something more than you are, just pause and say, Okay, am I trying to understand myself and my identity, or am I thinking I've got to become something different, something better than I am right now? And that changes everything, of course. Better questions create better answers, because you stop chasing a future version of yourself. You begin understanding the beliefs that the present version is already creating from very powerfully. So let's loop back to Sarah, my friend. She stopped asking, okay, how do I become supernatural? And she started asking, what belief convinced me that I'm not enough already? And again, that better question, that took her somewhere that meditation never could. She discovered that she spent years believing she had to earn the life she wanted. And that belief, a lot of people have, that belief organized itself quietly in her life. Once she saw it, then she could question it, become curious about it. She questioned it. Once she understood it, new possibilities became available to her, because she creates her reality now, not because she'd finally reached some higher state, but because the consciousness, the identity she always had, was organizing reality through different beliefs. And that's the shift that you can have. There's nowhere to go, no one else to be except yourself. So every spiritual teaching begins with an idea. I hope you understand that, the teacher's idea. If they change the idea, the entire teaching changes. They need to understand that they create their own reality too. And the assumption behind becoming supernatural is that your natural consciousness isn't enough. But it is enough right now. Your natural identity is already creating your reality like a dream. The question isn't whether you can become supernatural. I suggest you drop that and any other idea like it. The question is whether you understand that the beliefs through which your natural self is creating your experience are the ones that you want. You're not waiting to become the creator of your reality. You're understanding that you already are right now. And the greatest illusion wasn't that you couldn't create reality. It was believing you had to become somebody else before you could. Now, if this video's done one thing, I hope it's changed the questions that you're asking. Asking better questions gets better answers. So stop asking yourself, how do I become something different or supernatural? Just ask yourself, what beliefs am I using to create my reality? That's it. And if you want help, you can download the Belief Blueprint. There's a trance journey in there. There's also some email training. It's going to help you uncover the beliefs, known and unknown, that are already organizing the reality that you're living every single moment of every single day. Once you see those beliefs and you take them on board as yourself now, then everything changes. And you can download it, the link's in the description. And if this way of looking at spiritual development, the mechanics of consciousness is of interest to you, then do consider subscribing, do like the video, share it. Every week I explore hidden ideas behind spiritual teachings, manifestation, conscious creation, so you can stop chasing techniques and start growing your awareness about the nature of reality. That's it. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.